Richard Osman's The Man Who Died Twice is his sequel to his debut novel, The Thursday Murder Club. And I gotta say, it's not a Godfather 2 or Shrek 2 situation where the sequel is better than the original. Personally, I feel like that the differences and the changes that Richard Osman made in the sequel to The Thursday Murder Club are a little bit too far in my opinion. So let's, set the scene. And there may be spoilers in this video, so if there are going to be spoilers for the book, I would put spoilers here in red, probably. Okay? So, the second Thursday Murder Club book, The Man Who Died Twice, it follows the same gang of old age pensioners in their retirement village, solving crimes. And it's great, and I love that as a premise. It's amazing. But I feel like going from the first book, which let's say that's Knives Out, to the second book, which is a Bond movie, is too much of a leap. I listened to this book as an audiobook. Leslie Manning, as always, is spectacular. But that doesn't save this story being too much of a departure from the first book. I feel like if there was a stepping stone, so if the third book, which I believe is already out, was this book, I would believe it more, because you would have a second book that is a stepping stone between the two. So you'll go from Knives Out to something between Knives Out and a James Bond movie and then a James Bond movie. Okay, gradual escalation. But the escalation of stakes, which is good, there should be an escalation of stakes in your books, especially when, it's a series. The escalation was too fast, in my opinion. I feel like the book had a initial story introduced, which I personally thought would have been able to serve as a antagonist and a story for the entirety of the book. That would have been that stepping stone. And then you move on to what you had as the main plot as the third book. Essentially, I felt like Osman went too far, and I don't know if it was his decision. I didn't actually listen to the interview he has with Leslie Manning at the end of this book. I might go back and listen to that before I put this out, and I'll edit in a little something. But I feel like the introduction of a character who is a drug dealer, who is one of the B villains, essentially, in this book, was a better antagonist for a main antagonist in this book. It would have been a better stepping stone. And that is the biggest issue I have with this, because the first book felt very intimate. It felt like, you got on really close with all these characters, you're very intimate with them, their investigation. Then this book, it just goes nuts, balls to the walls. It's like Iron Man to the Avengers in one book. You're like, oh man, you need to give me Thor the Dark World in between. Maybe not Thor the Dark World, you need to give me Thor or Captain America in between. Then you build up to the third one. It's almost like the first book planted some seeds, and then you expect the second book for those seeds to become propagules, but actually no, they just became full-on oak trees. And I just felt there was too much of a jump. Okay, I've gone on about this big jump in story progression, maybe a little bit too much right now. There were a couple other things I felt like slight misses there. I felt like, this will be spoilers will come up here, where certain characters learn about one of the main characters, Elizabeth's life, and I'm like, it was such a well-guarded secret in the first book, and then for the beginning of the second book, it was a very well-guarded secret. And then I understand those secrets being revealed to certain people in the world of the Thursday Murder Club. But then expanding everyone who knew Elizabeth's secret to basically every Tom, Dick and Harry was like, what's going on here? This is a bit much, really. Okay. That actually was pretty spoiler-free, to be honest. Let's move on to the stuff I did like about it. Side characters in the first book coming back and getting a lot more of a shine, I love. Bogdan as a character is great. He's really, wholesome and fun, and he got some really good character development, which, you know, I quite enjoyed, and I felt was, you know, good. He was an interesting character, and I think more and more of these books come out. I'll pick up the third one, I'll make a video on that. The more and more of these books come out, Bogdan, I feel, will have a greater role in them. Also, Chris and Donna getting a lot more development. Chris in particular getting a lot of development was actually refreshing. Again, you know, propaganda a little bit, but he did get some good character progression. The main four characters, Ibrahim, Elizabeth, Joyce, and Ron, you know, they got some development. I think Ibrahim as well in particular got a lot of development. You learn a lot more about him, which was very nice, and you learn more about Ron's family. Again though, I felt like other things were a massive jump. Ibrahim's story in particular of, spoiler alert, of him getting kicked in the back of the head and becoming scared to go outside, especially as an old person who, you know, be as you may, the boomers often say these young people are too wild. You know, they were pretty wild themselves. You know, him being scared to go outside, and then not really being resolved until the very end of this book. Spoiler warning going away. I really felt that was a nice, strong through line for his character, and I feel like Ibrahim as a character really developed very well. So that's nice. A lot of the side characters got a lot of development, which is very good. However, so many other characters were introduced into this book, I couldn't have heads or tails of it. And again, it just felt like there was that just big leap from the first book having 6 main characters, well, 4 plus 2 side characters, and then 3 recurring characters essentially, to this having like a whole just troupe of characters, which again just harkens to that big leap in progression in one book, where I personally would have liked a slower build to that. Again, maybe if the third book there was another big leap and the second book justifies that third leap, then that's fine. But if the stakes aren't raised even higher, and the stakes were fairly high in this book already, I just don't know if it will feel right, because it was a pretty high profile case that they solved this time round, and I feel like to one up that you need to go even further. Again, I'm dancing around a lot of the things because it's a mystery book and I don't want people to, you know, get spoiled. It's the kind of book where I don't think spoilers should be given or necessary. But yeah, that's my issues with this. If you really, really liked the first book, The Thursday Murder Club, get this one, I suppose, especially if you like Richard Osman, if you like mystery books. Again, I'm not the biggest mystery crime book type guy, but if you are and you like the first book, pick this up. I'm sure it's been out for a year or two, so it's probably cheap. I'm going to put a link to it down below, obviously, for you to pick up, but you know, if you want to get it from somewhere else, do that. It'll probably be fairly cheap in like a Smith's or something. But yeah, I felt like this would have been a really great third book, but it was the second one. If you've read The Man Who Died Twice, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and opinions on the book. I'd love to know that. Am I in a minority here with that thought process? But you know, if you agree with me, let me know as well, and let me know what you're reading, obviously, at the moment too. So remember to like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member, and hey, I hope you read a great book today.